James Pearce does not want to talk to anybody. He didn't show up to Tennessee's media day. There was a seat there for him. He was supposed to take the seat that Nico had just taken before him. There were cameras set up, including one by offthehooksports.com. Yet we had one problem. There was no James Pearce. Therefore, it is tough to do a group interview when you have no one to interview. I thought about sitting down and maybe fielding some questions about my pass rush ability, but I didn't think anybody would be interested. In all seriousness, this is a concern. I'm not asking if it was a concern. I'm telling you it's a concern. You're told to be someplace, and you're not. I realize you hate doing interviews. They are going to push you to do interviews. Say, I'm not going to do interviews, but don't agree to be someplace and not be there. Or Tennessee Sports Information Department needs to just stop asking. They didn't want him to go to SEC Media Days. I know some things off the record that I cannot share, that he's been through a tough time recently. I don't have a problem with him not wanting to do interviews nowadays, or maybe just being a shy guy and not wanting to do it at all. But he's got to stop being put in this position. They just need to come out with a statement or something saying he's not comfortable talking to the media, because this is a storyline, and it's been a storyline for two events, SEC Media Days and now Tennessee Media Days. So how concerned should Tennessee's fans be that James Pearce just decided to skip Tennessee's Media Day, in which he was going to talk to local media that were going to throw softball after softball at him, Caleb?
So, according to you, you're saying this was James Pearce willingly himself deciding not to show up yesterday, not the coaches not bringing him out.
That is correct. There was a seat waiting there for him, and we were all waiting there for him. And as I spoke to one person in the football office, said, you can do the best you can, lead a horse to water type of thing, but you can't make them drink. James Pearce needs to realize, or maybe he does, that the more he's in front of a camera, the more sellable he is, right? From a NIL or endorsement standpoint in the NFL. I don't think he cares. Based off people I talked to, I think he could play NFL football for the next 8 to 10 years and be perfectly fine with life and not get one single endorsement. I don't think he cares. So Tennessee has to.
When you say that, you mean he don't think he cares about NIL? Are you saying you don't think? Do you think he doesn't care about football? Period.
No, not that at all. I don't think he cares about the extracurricular with football. I don't. Okay. I think he just likes to show up and play football. I don't think he wants to do interviews, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But as a leader, you can't say you're going to be someplace and not be there. All the other players were there. I guarantee you, Jake Merklinger wasn't exactly happy about sitting there for of the 9 minutes. He was interviewed for about 4.5. Same thing for Ricky Gibson. I mean, there were some uncomfortable moments, as there's going to be with the media, but you've got to show up. Caleb, you and I haven't had a chance to talk deeply about this. What is your take? Because I think it's pretty disappointing to go out there, have everything set up, have this whole media day, and one of your top 2 players, arguably your best player, doesn't show up.
There have been red flags about James Pearce dating back to last summer. We first heard of him through the grapevine, but we first officially had him mentioned on our show during spring practice over a year ago. When do you remember, Dave? Fred White came on and he specifically said James Pearce, this guy's going to be a star. And then he said right after that, he said bubble wrap him, like try to keep him out of trouble until the fall, which that was my first red flag. I'm like, why are you worried about him doing something that would get him into trouble? And then December comes. What happens? Reckless driving charge, a traffic incident, an arrest, driving on a suspended license. Charges are dropped, but that's a red flag. And then he just goes quiet. I mean, just ghost everybody while we're all talking about him.
Now, can I defend him for a moment on that?
Sure.
I was told he went through some serious personal issues, and that's why. So I'm defending him. I'm as much defending him as I'm saying to you, should he be a concern? He might be a concern because he's got problems, not because he is not doing the things he's supposed to. So I want to be clear. I'm defending him as much as I am
Right, you're
questioning.
saying he's in the best way to say this is in a certain way he's right now a victim. He's going through things that we just don't
Yes,
know about.
that I can't share. Yes,
Right. And that could affect his play on the football field, which again, we don't, we care about football. Everybody, I'm sure fans care about football, want him to do well, but you always wish the best for the person and the individual too. And so I'm with you on this. This is a red flag. It's a red flag for a few things. You're right. Whatever he's going through, Dave, sometimes things you're going through can result in poor behavior elsewhere. It could also result in poor play, which not only hurts Tennessee, but hurts himself and his NFL draft prospects going forward. So there's a lot of concern. So I'm not thinking about this from what is he going to do for Tennessee? What is he going to be able to do for himself? Because everybody wants him suited up in pads and balling on the field this year. That's what everybody wants to see. And
David says, could Pearce be a James Banks?
Jeremy Banks.
Jeremy Banks. No. I get no feeling that there is. With Jeremy Banks, there was an issue that he's still kind of like Jeremy Pruitt. I know that sounds stupid, but but I mean, everybody else was on board the Hopple train, and with Banks, there was always a Pruitt thing. No, I think James Pearson, I want to be clear on this. I think he's a good teammate. I think he's a hard worker. I think he wants to be a great player. I just think he's gone through some tough times and he doesn't want to be in the public eye right now. And that's perfectly fine. I can appreciate that. I can respect that. It's just you've got to make that clear to Tennessee Sports Information Department, because then it became a story of why I didn't show up. And it doesn't change if they release something today that he had a last second summer exam that he had to take, Caleb. I mean, they can do that. And
what if it's
Dylan said on an interview that he did, he thought was awesome. And he interviewed very well. That's what I've been told too, is that he speaks very well. I just don't think he wants to do it.
What if, and I'm going to speak from a personal standpoint because it doesn't happen with me, but I have a friend who, like, whenever a lot of times we will make plans to go hang out, and that friend every now and then will flake and ghost, and I just won't be able to see him for like a day or two. And then I found out he has severe anxiety. And sometimes what if like James Pearce has just severe anxiety, and sometimes it hits him like, oh crap, I'm going to go do a media interview. I'm having an anxiety attack. I got to pull out. Like,
can I tell you, and you're right. I'm not ashamed to say, I've had an anxiety attack on the air, so that's no fun. So I can't imagine having an anxiety attack when you've got 20 grown men and you're a 19-year-old and they're shoving a mic in your face. So Jabril Wilson had, I believe, an anxiety attack during the interview, and I thought he had a stutter. He ended up being one of the best interviews out there. A couple of things on the message board. Let him play football as long as he's playing for us. I empathize with the reporters having a job to do. I also empathize with the guy who isn't comfortable getting interviewed. I feel the same way. I used to be mad, and I would say I'm your conduit to talk to the individual player. And I still believe that if a guy's like Arian Foster and just wants to be a jackwagon. Okay. Now, this I think is a little bit more significant. Dylan says, I'm not concerned. Pearce is a business-minded guy. He's not blowing up his social media or looking at the spotlight. He just wants to play football, and I support that. Dylan, you got a lot of good posts, buddy, but I don't know that if I sat down and wrote that, I could nail that any better. He is going to be an incredible NFL player because it's his job to show up and be the best football player he can. I'm serious. Forget about whatever quarterback may be available. Trade up. Get that guy, because he's going to show up and get a check and not have to worry about all the other stuff. And he's not going to have to talk to the media more than like 10 minutes a week, I think, is the NFLPA stipulation, or he can get a minuscule fine. He's going to love the NFL. And the NIL player that is going to be in existence 3 to 5 years from now, which may not even have to go to class. Not that he has a class issue, but may not have to do all the extracurriculars. He's going to love that too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because Caleb, do you think he loves it when the spy group says, "Oh, in part to make some of your money, you need to speak to this church in Carnes"? Oh, he doesn't want to do that.
No, he absolutely doesn't want to do that. I'm with you on that. And also, it's hard to get like, let's call it what it is with certain positions, edge rusher, defensive tackle. It's hard to get them to go, oh, now can you go speak to this charity event or this church event? Because some of them maybe can't turn off the anger you try to instill in them when they're playing. As you know, Dave, there was a defensive tackle for Tennessee who had trouble, who was very nice and had to get mean when he played. But if you got him mean, you may not be able to turn off his meanness.
I remember Charles Haley would stop taking his antidepressants in August because he was a meaner player in the fall. Let's hope nothing's going on like that. Portions of the program brought to you by.
I was talking about, but I was talking about Albert Hainsworth.
Oh, you're talking about Albert in particular?
Yeah, they tried to trigger him to get mean, and then he could go to like way too mean.
Yeah, it's called raking the claws of your cleats against somebody.